they can't be chiefs if they're not protecting people.
The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs removes Arlen Dumas as Grand Chief after an investigation into sexual misconduct.
For that, and for all the pain and hardships you have experienced in the years that have followed, I stand here today and offer my sincere apology.
An apology 5 decades in the making for a Yukon family.
We're starting to put some amenities in place, some water, some washrooms. So, that's how serious people are when it comes to powwow.
And a Manitoba First Nation tunes into their own radio station to hear all of the community chatter. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Arlen Dumas is out as the Grand Chief of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs. Dumas was suspended after allegations of sexual misconduct surfaced back in March. Those allegations have not been proven. As APTN's Tamara Pimentel reports, MMIW advocates are calling for changes in leadership.
The vote was successful. Arlen Dumas is no longer the Grand Chief of AMC. We're going to be moving forward.
The news from Acting Chief Cornell McLean was followed by an applause from these women who spent the entire day waiting outside the meeting to show their support for alleged victims. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs held the meeting to vote whether Arlen Dumas would be removed as Grand Chief. Dumas was suspended from his role in March after being accused with sexual assault by another staff member. A second allegation followed.
So I wanted to say, my apologies to Bethany May-Twashing on behalf of the Assembly and also to Shauna Fontaine on behalf of the AMC. But, he hasn't acknowledged that, his wrongdoings, but I'll say that on our behalf of AMC, and that we want to move forward. We want to implement policies. We want to work with the women of the monarchs and, get things done.
Advocate for Indigenous women Sandra Delarond says she has been working with the alleged victims for almost 3 years.
And we said that we were, as Indigenous women, in a state of emergency, and we continue to be.
Delarond spent the duration of the meeting handing out resolutions she would like to see the AMC follow, including a healing process for those who have been affected by incidents such as this. Mary Starr says it's gone on for too long.
I know there's a lot of victims out there that have not come forward. The shame, how they're going to feel in the community, and there's no resources there. When they do speak out, they're not listened to, they're ignored because of the power the chiefs have.
She says the closed meeting should have been made public.
We would like to know who is in support and who is not. It's very important for us. Like for me, from the community I'm in, I would like to know how my chief voted today.
Lillian Cook calls the removal of Dumas a positive step.
There is so much abuse, harassment. There's people are afraid to say. The women are afraid to talk. They can't be chiefs if they're not protecting people.
McLean says Dumas was given the opportunity to speak at the meeting, but chose not to participate. The former Grand Chief announced last week that he would be seeking trauma-based treatment for a lifetime of trauma and events he's faced in recent months. McLean will be interim chief for the AMC until October 18th. An election will be held on that day. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
To the Yukon now. It's been 55 years since the death of a young Casca woman in Whitehorse. More than 5 decades, her family has been left without answers because of a failed investigation by the Yukon RCMP. And as Sarah Connors tells us, the RCMP are now saying that they're sorry.
It's the day Tootsie Jimmy Charlie's family has been waiting over 50 years for. Family members gathered in Whitehorse on Friday to hear an apology from the RCMP about their failed investigation into the young woman's death.
We've been hurt for so many years.
In 1967, the 26-year-old Casca woman's body was found near a dump in Whitehorse. Anne Maja Rader described her sister as a traditional woman who cherished her family.
Tootsie was a very loving mother and a loving sister.
According to a coroner's inquest, exposure and alcohol played a part in her death and she died from misadventure. The case was closed and RCMP never investigated how the young woman came to end up at the dump.
Nothing was done.
During the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls inquiry in 2017, Jimmy Charlie's family shared her story and the case was put back on the RCMP's radar. They now admit they didn't conduct a thorough investigation.
For that, and for all the pain and hardships you have experienced in the years that have followed, I stand here today and offer my sincere apology.
I really appreciate the acknowledgement that the RCMP did not do their job.
But the apology was too late for others.
I'm thankful for this apology, but it's an apology 3 decades too late from this attempted genocide from a settler colonial state.
Yukon RCMP's Historic Case Unit is reviewing her file, which they say would now be classified as a suspicious death. Their next step is to investigate a timeline of how Jimmy Charlie ended up in the dump.
That's something that wasn't answered, and we still cannot answer today.
Her family says there's still more to be done, like changing the coroner's report, which they say is racist. As for Jimmy Charlie's daughter, it will take more than an apology to heal the heartbreak of her mother's death.
We're still hurting. And to my brother and my family, it will never heal.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Many questions remain in the case of a missing Saskatoon woman who was found alive and well weeks later with her 7-year-old son in the United States. What is clear from a Saskatoon Police Service briefing today, 48-year-old Dawn Walker, an executive with the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations, now faces several criminal charges on both sides of the border after being found in Oregon on Friday, a week after she'd last been seen in Saskatoon. Here's APTN's Leanne Sanders with more.
Deputy Chief Randy Huseman of the Saskatoon Police Service says it was a wide-reaching, multifaceted investigation involving more than half a dozen agencies in Canada and the U.S. that led them to find Dawn Walker and her son Vincent Jansen in a rental in Oregon City, Oregon. He said Walker remains in custody there and appeared in court today on a felony charge of making false statements in the use of a passport and a less serious misdemeanor offense of possessing an ID without lawful authority. Huseman says Walker will face charges here when she's returned to Saskatoon.
Parental abduction in contravention of a custody order and public mischief. As the criminal investigation progresses, there may be further charges that Ms. Walker will face as a result.
Huseman said they know Walker entered the U.S. via Alberta into Montana, but wouldn't speculate on whether Walker had help, what further charges could be laid, or how much the week-long search, which covered land, air, and water, cost. But he says it will be significant. As for how police tracked her down, Huseman was not specific.
We obtained things such as cell phone records, banking records, history of their associations with people, family, all those things are taken into account. And when we start seeing anomalies, we start going in that direction.
Huseman said investigators are consulting the provincial Crown Prosecutor's Office to arrange for Walker's future extradition to Canada. Her 7-year-old son, Vincent Jansen, was reunited with a legal guardian on Friday and returned to Canada Saturday. APTN has reached out to Vincent's father, who launched a webpage as the search for his son and Walker got underway last week. A GoFundMe launched by friends of the Jansen family has raised nearly $47,000, while a separate GoFundMe raising money for Walker's legal defense hovers around $15,000. Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
We need to take a short break, but still ahead, hundreds of people are evacuating due to out-of-control wildfires in BC again this summer.
I honestly didn't think it would even get this far. So yeah, we're just getting a little bit concerned now.
Welcome back. Now to wildfires burning across the country, starting out west where hundreds of people remain under evacuation orders in the BC interior as crews battle an out-of-control blaze.
I honestly didn't think it would even get this far. So yeah, we're just getting a little bit concerned now.
We're trying to contain the fire. We've got 381 firefighting personnel on the fire.
In addition to the 381 firefighters, BC Wildfire Service has 16 helicopters and 43 pieces of heavy equipment battling that wildfire.
It was tough because when I left, I was okay when I left, but then afterwards I sat there and, I didn't even know where I was going. And so it was an ugly feeling. You kind of feel like you're homeless and that you don't have a place to go to.
And on the east coast, a state of emergency remains in effect because in Newfoundland because of two out-of-control wildfires. Winds are blowing smoke away from communities in central Newfoundland, but the mayor of Grand Falls, Windsor, warns that the situation can change quickly, and he says that residents need to be ready to leave on a moment's notice.
Now over 10,000 hectares.
We are concerned about the smoke situation, and again, the wind plays a big role in that. But there are evacuation plans in place if necessary Some vulnerable populations are already being moved out of the area. Central Health are evacuating patients from the hospital and long-term care facilities. And we've got our residents on standby to be ready at any moment to evacuate if the call comes.
Winds will play a big role in how the fires behave over the coming days. Well, the housing structure in Northwest Territories has been oppressing and dispossessing Indigenous land for generations. It's a complex problem that author Kat-Leah Lafferty tackles in her latest novel, This House Is Not a Home. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs has more on that.
He had no other choice but to play by the rules of the game, to live in the confines of the government's regime. With the shutting of the door, he felt as though he had turned his back on the land that he truly called home.
Kat-Leah Lafferty is using her platform as an author to address the crisis that is Northern housing. The powerful prose titled This House Is Not a Home weaves a story of colonialism and the dispossession of Indigenous peoples in their own homeland.
As the co-chair of a committee for the Yellowknife Standing First Nation on housing, working there, I really saw all of the issues that many housing residents were living through when it comes to having mold in their home or putting in maintenance orders that weren't filled, to having their house taken right out from underneath them.
The things that were supposed to be making their lives easier were instead filling their lives with idleness.
It's the third book from the acclaimed Dene, Cree, and Métis writer and inspired by true events.
A friend of mine, their whole family went out hunting in the early 80s, and they were gone for about 6 weeks in the fall, and when they returned, their house was completely gone and they had no idea what happened to it, and soon found out that the Housing Corporation had assumed that it was abandoned and just tore it down with everything still inside of it, not caring, and then just built up a housing unit pretty much in the same spot and then expected them to live in housing and pay rent.
Ahead of the novel's official release date on September 1st, Lafferty is sharing the novel in Yellowknife at a book reading.
Really appreciate the leadership that you take on this front.
Sparking discussion from audience members about housing issues they face.
But if I choose to be in a relationship with someone and I have common law status, I will lose like half of my, I guess, rights or half of my property based on a housing situation.
It was the first time in their lives they had running water, flushing toilets, and electricity.
While the characters in the novel are forced to assimilate into the developing settler colonial mining town, Lafferty says it's also a story of empowerment, calling for land back, and illustrates how Indigenous communities honor who they are with resiliency, strengthening sovereignty.
Well, I definitely want it to be mainstream and be picked up and recommended by different various organizations that have the ability to lift it up and bring it into the forefront of mainstream media so that people can know what's happening here in the North.
And the work is far from over. On August 13th at the Yellowknife Library, Lafferty will also be helping individuals impacted by housing issues in submitting claims to the National Housing Advocate. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Broken-Head Ojibwe Nation in Manitoba now has a radio station. Here's Chief Gordon Blue Sky taking a turn behind the mic to talk about Treaty Days and powwow celebrations on the weekends.
Campers are already setting up. We're starting to put some amenities in place, some water, some washrooms. So, that's how serious people are when it comes to powwow. They want to get in place, they want to get their spots, and they want to get front row and center. So again, come on down. We'll have a lot of food, feasting both days, Saturday and Sunday. So come on down and join us, Treaty 150 in the Broken-Head Ojibwe Nation.
Listeners can tune in to 90.9 Bon FM to take in community news and music, and you can also watch on their Facebook Live. Well, we have one more quick break to take, but when we come back, a huge hip-hop star performs in Inuit snow glasses. Plus, other northern fashions heat up international stages.
Yeah, you imagine that everyone else is going to know who I am.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Jennifer Sinclair shared this delicious shot of moose pie with wild rice salad. She's a cook at the Family Centre on the Temagami First Nation in Ontario. The rice grows at the lake there. It's harvested by hand every year by Mark, Sam, and his wife Amanda Paul. The moose was provided by the Centre's cultural programming colleague, Jamie Seville. Thank you for sharing this, Jennifer. If you want to be our photo of the day, you can email your pictures to share at aptn.ca along with a location and description of what we're looking at. Just a reminder, we love food, we love nature, we love community events, cute kids. Send it all in. Let's take a look now at tomorrow's weather forecast. To the east coast, we got 23 in showers for St. John, sunshine and 31 in Fredericton. Happy Valley, Goose Bay 22 and sunny skies, Kuujjuaq cloud and 20 degrees there. Sunshine and 22 for Chibougamau, 22 and rain for Montreal. 22 in showers expected for Ottawa, 25 and sunshine for Sault Ste. Marie. Kapuas, Casing and Simmons, both 24 and sunny skies, 18 and some showers expected for Big Trout Lake. 11 in rain for Churchill, 21 in showers for God's Lake and Norway House. Sunshine for 25 for Winnipeg, 25 in cloud for Dauphin. 25 and sunny for Regina and Estevan, 24 for Yorkton, 22 and sunshine for Meadow Lake, 21 in showers for L'Orange, 24 for Peace River and Grand Prairie, 21 and sunshine for Fort Mac. Sunshine continues for the southern portion of the province, 25 for Edmonton, 30 in Lethbridge, 35 and sunshine for Kamloops and Penticton, 25 and sunny for Victoria. You get sunshine up north to Dease Lake, 25, Fort Nelson, 26. Dawson City, 15 and shower, 17 with a mix of sun and cloud for Beaver Creek, 26 and sunshine for Fort Simpson and Wrigley, 18 with a mix of sun and cloud for Fort McPherson, Paulatuck, 20 and sunny skies, 22 and sunshine for Baker Lake, Arviat, 16 and sunny, Kenite, 16 and sunshine, Joe Haven, 20 and sunny skies. From overcoming addiction to creating some truly stunning runway fashions, a Cascadena designer from the Yukon is making a name for herself in the fashion world, and soon her work will be hitting the catwalk at one of the world's biggest fashion events. Here's Sarah Connors with that.
For Natasha Peter, culture is art. The Cascadena designer from Ross River, Yukon, is known for mixing fashion with tradition, values she incorporates with every stitch.
There was a part of me inside that was pulling towards my traditional skills because growing up, my parents had taught me to live off the land and everything. And I guess that part of me wanted to come out.
And I use a lot of the granny heel or the granny materials.
Based in Whitehorse, Peter's designs are hard to miss, like these granny hanky-inspired heels and this shawl adorned with bees.
Because you know, all the bees and stuff are disappearing and everything, so it kind of made...
And now, one of the world's biggest fashion events is taking notice. Peter's designs will hit the runway at New York Fashion Week in September. Her work was selected for Rise New York Fashion Week, a show featuring emerging and independent fashion designers. For Peter, it's a dream come true.
And here I am going to New York, one of my goals that I've been wanting to achieve for the longest time.
But just a few years ago, that dream seemed out of reach. For 15 years, Peter struggled with addiction.
I didn't really have a youth because I drank most of that part of my life away.
5 years ago, she picked up a sewing needle and has been sober ever since.
It was healing me and I didn't know. And there I was, like 2 years of being sober. And I liked that feeling, so I kept going and I started achieving a lot of things.
Peter's business, Cascadena Designs, has customers from across Canada and the U.S. Last month, one of her dresses was worn at the Junos. Just recently, she made her fashion show debut at the Alexander Reserve in Edmonton. Her goal for New York Fashion Week? Make Cascadena Designs known to the masses.
And after my fashion show in New York, I imagine that everyone else is going to know who I am.
From addictions to the world's fashion stage, Peter hopes her journey will inspire the next generation of designers.
And I hope my story will help somebody to follow their dreams too, you know?
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
One of the biggest hip-hop artists in the world returned to the stage over the weekend. Travis Scott played 2 sold-out shows at London's O2 Arena, and what he was wearing has captured the attention of Inuit. This was the scene on the weekend as Scott descended to the stage. Here's the important part. Look at those glasses. London's Guardian newspaper described them as futuristic pair of off-white goggles with tiny slits, but the Inuit know them better as igok, traditional Inuit glasses that are made to prevent snow blindness. We are still looking for the designer of these glasses. If you recognize them, be sure to let us know. It's a very cool little nod to the North there by Travis Scott, or at least his stylist. That is all the news I have for you to kick off the week. I'm Melissa Ridgen. We're always thankful to have you join us. Have a great night. We're going to see you back here tomorrow. Don't forget to hit up our website if you missed anything in the last couple days, aptnnews.ca. Have a good night.